welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, today we're taking a look at one of the phenomena that's come up post-COVID is this need to own your own home. And if you already have your first home, then, well, you're going to be looking for that second home because a lot has changed. For instance, there is that famous work from home. Everybody knows now that you don't really have to go to office. Even I'm assuming that once things do get back to normal, we are not going to see that 7-day work week again. People are going to be working more and more out of their homes, which is why there is also a need to find a holiday home. You can actually be in Goa, you can be in the hills and also do your office work. So that trend has actually spurred a whole lot of investments in property. Where do you invest? Has the property market already peaked in some cases? And what are the designs? What are the homes that people are looking for? Joining me for this discussion, I have some stakeholders from the field themselves, experts. We have Arjun Sodhi. He's an architect, designer, and also a consultant in Metaverse, which he assures us is the next big thing. We have Samir Saran. He's a managing partner at India Sotheby's International Realty. And Siddharth Haryani, he is a partner at Phoenix Legal. So he's going to be making sure that your investments are safe. But Samir, let's begin with you. Where do we, and congratulations, I believe you just concluded a very high profile, deal in Goa that everybody is talking about. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much, Priya. It's been an interesting couple of years, and especially the way things have moved for real estate as a whole, both internationally as well as domestically, since the focus is on holiday homes. And since we're talking Goa right now, I would just like to say that, it's been an interesting market in terms of what has been happening prior to COVID and then what has happened post-COVID. So prior to COVID, I think there was a general trend of people looking to move to Goa, more from a second home perspective, more from a retirement perspective. And that trend was already happening. So whereas we would get about 5 to 6 queries annually. Now, what has happened during the time of COVID is actually that whole process is accelerated. And the number of queries that we've got, and whereas earlier people were perhaps having budgets of 5, 6, 7 crores, that has also doubled over the last 2 to 3 years. We ourselves as Sotheby's have concluded close to 200 crores worth of transactions in the last 6 months alone. Thank you for mentioning.
Was that 90 crore deal? Am I giving?
So we had 190 crore deal, which was an exceptional estate. And dealing with high net worths and ultra high net worths, what we found is there is a trend towards unique properties. There is a trend towards people wanting to have a staycation home that can be used throughout the year now. So earlier, it's not just for the 1 month or the 2 months, but it's for that longer duration of stay, where they're very happy to work out of that particular home. There are people who have actually moved from a lifestyle perspective, where they're sending their kids to school locally in Goa. And we will discuss this perhaps in more detail, but we've been fortunate. We've seen certainly transaction sizes increasing in value. Our average ticket size, for properties transacted there in the last 6 months have been around 30 crores. Whilst we cater to the whole market, from 5 crores to 100 crores, this is what we found. And again, a very robust pipeline going forward. So has the phenomenon, come to an end, or will it come to an end? I don't think so. I think, we've got a sound pipeline of another 200 crores going forward in the next couple of months. So interesting times.
And so you're also in the right place at the right time. I think, though you've been here for about 2.5 decades, but the changes that you are seeing, the demand for homes away from the metros in the hills, and the kind of designs that people are looking for. Arjun.
Yeah. Thank you, Priya, for having me on this show and with such eminent people. Thank you so much. I think that there is a lot of demand for holiday homes. They are not called holiday homes anymore. They are almost primary homes. People go where they can get nurtured. They go to the hills if they want to. They go to the coastlines. They go to forests. They go wherever they want to. It's definitely not an urban context. It is more of an area where you nurture yourself, where you can focus, where there's no pollution, where there's no traffic, there's no neighbors. You find yourself. You emerge from within yourself. It's all about finding the peace and the balance between your work and who you are really. So I've come across people wanting to go in different areas. Some people wanted to go into hills, but not into the snows really, not at high altitudes. They want to go into climates which are congenial throughout the year. They like to go to Goa. Goa is a very hot spot, of course.
How much is the price increase in property, or is that a question for Samir?
I think that's the question for Samir. But yes, it's different.
Yeah, happy to jump in here. And, the way we've seen the market move, and I'm talking about the last 2 to 3 years, the restriction on international travel has opened, as Sudhi is saying, has opened people's eyes to what is available in India. And there are certain jurisdictions that are motorable, or there are certain jurisdictions like a Goa, which is very accessible. So we have found, as I said, the budgets have increased, and with it, so has the price of property. I could, blanketly say that, perhaps it's gone up by almost 100%, but it is actually quite micro market specific. So we can get into the detail of that. There are areas which are very popular, like in Asagaon, where traditionally prices have been around 25,000-30,000 rupees, and today per square meter, and today that has almost doubled. So we're talking closer to 50,000. Goa is 180 miles stretch of beach area, so there are many different areas. But again, it's very micro market specific. And whilst the ranges may have been 10 to 15,000 rupees per square meter, I think that has gone up and shifted up as people realize the value of what they have. So even villages that were where with the new airport coming up, we're talking about North Goa, we're talking about east of the highway. So even places like Aldona, Salvador do Mundo, a lot of attention, a lot of people looking for these spaces, a little less crowded than the existing Asagaons and Siolins. So that's but definitely we're talking in a range of about at least a 30 to 50% increase, I would say, across the board. And in certain places, which is again specific to Goa in terms of being in CRZ, in terms of having a beach touch property, in terms of having a water touch property. And I think Siddharth will come as some of these points about what are the things to look out for when you're buying a property. But this can even move the the needle up to 1 lakh per square meter when it comes down to it.
I was about to echo that at least.
Siddharth, sorry, yeah.
I was about to echo that same thing for close to Bombay, the Alibag stretch. I think the prices have definitely gone up, but as Samir rightly says, it's location. So at the end of the day, if there's a good location, you just don't know if it's 100% or 200%. People are willing to pay, and they are really wanting to have that second home. It's not a holiday home. It's not a 4 days a year going. Every weekend, every second weekend, they want to be in their house.
Okay. But designing that house, Arjun, sorry, you complete your thought.
So, the other thing is that, like Samir is mentioning and Siddharth, strategically and location-wise, it's key. What is the environment around it? What is the micro environment? What is the macro environment? Who are your neighbors? Can you visually see them? Do you have privacy? These are terms which are now coming in very, very strongly. How much does it have a swimming pool? Do you have yoga, meditation? Do you have fitness area? Do you have a spa? So it's all about now looking at your spiritual self as well as your physical identities. Also, people have gone to look at how to grow their food. Farm to table has become a huge movement now with people. They want to grow their own organic food, vegetables, fruits, nuts. And pets. People have started, wanting to nurture their life because they realize that if you can eat well, and it's from your fields organically with no chemical free completely, it tastes fantastic, and that makes you feel good the whole time whenever you're doing your work. Then you can walk into the gardens. They're not wanting large landscape lawns, etc. Now it's more about a micro environment where there's a lawn, which is a small lawn, but the rest is wild. It's like a local species. It's called rewilding. So you actually buy property and you rewild it, which means you let the local species of plants and trees and fruits, and so you are actually nurturing the environment, the ecosystem. You're not putting a footprint on it. You're not stamping it out. You're being sustainable. You're being green. You're responsible. That's where now a lot of people as luxury, clients has started moving and thinking they're responsible. They're socially active. They know that they have what their decision is makes a difference, makes an impact on the world and on climatology. These are all things coming into it, Design wise, we used to get people who used to say, okay, we'd like you to design our home. We've bought a property. this is the land we bought. Now we find people very often coming to us and saying, we have 3 parcels, three properties which are for sale. We'd like to buy one of them. Which one do you think is the best in terms of aesthetics, designs, location, views, balance, positivity? A lot of now people have realized that energies are very important. So there's a lot of new learning now for us. We have to be more responsible. We were responsible, but we have to be more responsible towards the planet and towards people and nurture individuals. That's where design is going now. Of course, we'll get into it details later.
But how do you part of your portfolio is also doing due diligence. You advise people on investments and make sure that they do the right investments. So what would your take be, say, on Goa? Right time to invest. Part of your portfolio is advising people in real estate. You do due diligence, you do structured investments. So regarding Goa, what would your advice be? Or if someone says, where do I get the right holiday home, where would you tell them to go look?
So maybe I don't answer the last bit of where to go and look. I actually get to know a lot from the clients rather than inform them. But yeah, clearly the first bit of it is quite important. So what has happened is people who haven't dealt in real estate don't understand that land laws are state-specific laws. So if you're sitting in Delhi, if you're sitting in Bombay, and you call your local lawyer who you're comfortable with, he is not the right person to get a comprehensive diligence to be done in any other state. Goa as a market is extremely complex. As we know, historically, there were the Portuguese there. There were some lands allotted based on them. So what they call the comunidad land, there are freehold lands and things like that, where you need a local council. The difference that happens is in cities like Bombay and Delhi, you are comfortable with your local lawyers or lawyers in those cities who do a detailed filtering of the diligence. Because a lawyer based in Goa or a lawyer based in Alibag or in the hills may do a good work, but he may not catch on to things which a detailed eye should have sometimes. And that's the reason most clients look at a 2-level filter to get the diligence done. And therefore, maybe 10 years back, we were representing a lot of developers who are wanting to acquire 20 acres, 50 acres in Goa, other places, and do a larger development. Now we have more individuals coming and asking those questions, and we have to educate them, saying that Siddharth by himself can't do it. We will need a local council, we'll be there, and they actually find it quite interesting and satisfied by the end of the day. There are 2 thumbs up given and saying that things are okay and clear. So I think diligence-wise, Goa is a complex market. I'd be highly amazed if a lawyer in Delhi or Bombay says, I will do it by myself, which I believe is not really how it should be done. But, there are large tracts of land which are available. There are very interesting properties. And the last bit that you asked, actually our clients, show us pictures and say, this is what we are looking to buy. It's fantastic. Of course, the next level of diligence is on the development bit. And as Samir pointed out, there are CRZ regulations, other regulations, where after you acquire, there are restrictions on what you can do with the land. So all of these regulations have to be read together, and we quite closely work with people like Arjun and local architects who say yes to both aspects. So we say, yes, the title is clear. You can go ahead and acquire. You can actually build a house, but what kind of a house, how much FSI will be available? Can you just have a flat house? Can you have a 2-story house? The amount of area that you can occupy in a 1-acre house will get signed off by the architects who know the local regulations on the development side. And once both those thumbs up are there, that's when the client goes ahead and actually closes the transaction.
Samir, the focus was on Goa. So has Goa peaked? And, we did ask that question, but if it has, then where else can you buy? What is the next Goa?
So truthfully, I will say that the trend towards Goa has been slightly different, where people have actually, and as Arjun has said, and others have said also in the past, that it's a lifestyle decision today. So the holiday home has become a staycation, and that 2-3 months in a year kind of staycation has become elongated. So the trend or the movement, in terms of the reason for it and the type of usage of it has fundamentally changed. The other interesting thing about Goa is there's a big imbalance between supply and demand. in terms of ready homes and people to get into ready homes. So, and in the categories that we deal with, the ultra high net worths, they want, and I think Arjun has been absolutely spot on with his, thoughts and comments in terms of the type of home people are looking for. And now the new process that they're following, wherein they bring the architect, day one to say, can my house be built here? Should my house be built here? So, following that kind of a process. And what we have found is that there are a number of opportunities still in Goa, and the trend will continue in Goa. There will still be demand. And people like it as a destination because, one, there has been substantial increase in terms of the kind of ecosystem created, the kind of eateries that there are, the kind of nightlife that you have. So it is a whole place to go and stay and live. And he's again hit on some, very important points around lifestyle, about the rewilding of things. People today, they go and have a look at a 4-acre site. And this has been the shift because of the lack of ready housing demand. And that is where, someone like us play a role in terms of finding very, very unique properties. But there are only so many number of unique properties. And Mrs. Dhart would say there are only so many number of clean, unique properties. And whilst we have, worked through, very complicated assets, even in the 90 crore transaction, we did have many, many complications to it. At the end of the day, we were able to work through those and actually get the asset neat and clean for the end user. And from that perspective, there's also a significant value upside that comes with that. So people are, one, looking to move from a lifestyle perspective. So the trend will continue. The demand will continue. This is not a one-off. And I think people have noticed that, I can work very well today in Delhi, but, I can breathe cleaner air, go for a swim and do my work in Goa. So that's the kind of psyche and change. And I can give you anecdotes of, friends personally, clients and others who have taken that view. Now, in addition to Goa, so I'll park Goa on one side and, looking at, what else is available. A lot of people have shown a tremendous demand for the hills, especially motorable hills. So, today I'm living in Delhi. Can I access, other places in the north? Is it a Dehradun? Is it a Mussoorie? And then, so can I go and buy there? Now, that has its own set of complications, which I hope Siddharth will cover in terms of people looking to buy. So we as advisors have to be very particular about what we offer to our clients, whether they can transact on it, whether it is something legal, whether it is neat and clean, and that's the way we work. And one of the reasons, again, I say, this imbalance between supply and demand, it's even the same in the hills. What is available, what is built, what is not built. And that's where you need also someone like Arjun to come in and say, actually, this land makes a lot of sense from these construction perspectives and meeting these kind of demands. Whether you want to have your own organic farm in-house, whether you want to have a pool. I mean, we've had clients that have gone in, they love the idea. So for example, in Goa, they love the idea of water touch. They love the idea of having a jetty. Everybody dreams about having their personal yacht mooring on their land and whatnot. But in terms of design aesthetic as well, he's absolutely correct. People have, got into the very nuance and detail, and especially because of COVID. So, is it also about consideration about your staff and making sure that their well-being and health is taken care of? Yes. And I think Arjun can also talk about the nuances and changes of design, even entering a home in terms of where you want to put your shoes, etc. I think he can talk better on these aspects. But, sophisticated, ultra-high net worths, who can fly in using their private jet, who are looking for those larger properties, who are looking for those unique assets. They're looking across the board. They're looking in the hills. They're looking in Goa. And they're looking for something different. They're looking for their privacy. They're looking for their nature. And I'll hand over to Arjun to talk about the other interesting things they're looking for.
Okay, Arjun, do you want to add to the hills and the kind of homes that people are looking for?
I think Samir has put it across very well. And Siddharth has also said that it's very, very critical to choose your properties, legally. Samir has said very, very, very correctly. The hills are something which is sought after as much as maybe Goa, because the hills, there are very few hill stations which nurture you, really. You can go to a place which is another city in the hills. Simla is now really bursting its seams. The central part of Mussoorie bursting its seams. But there are areas which are outside. Dehradun, the hills like Nainital externally outside Ranikhet is really lovely because it's got army cantonments and areas. These are areas which cannot be spoiled by development. Now the ultra high net worth individual or the HNI wants to go to nature. He wants to go to a green environment. He does not want to go to the city again. So the design has changed. The in the hills you used to have typically estates used to have a main building, and then they used to have outhouses. Now those outhouses post COVID have become critical. Did you have 3 outhouses? Do you have 5? Because they have to be sanctioned. You cannot build in some of the hill stations unless you have a footprint. Your FAR, floor area ratio, as it's called, is dependent on what is the existing old buildings within the records of the municipality or the environment, within your legal environment you're working in as a revenue records. So if you have 5 outhouses, it's a really big a bonus. Because if you have one big building and no other outhouses, then you cannot have guest houses outside. You cannot quarantine people. What is happening is staff need to be there in their own environment with their own quarantine zones. The owners need to be in their own environment with guests coming in, because people want to travel to you. You want family to come. A lot of times, people want their family members to go with them for that holiday, which is now the trend. People want, they were nuclear families. They used to go internationally abroad, go for their holidays, come back. It was like a month out of India. That has changed completely. Now people want to go for that 1 month, has elongated to 3 months, and they'll take, their parents, their, cousins, aunts, brothers, sisters, etc. And they go as a family. So it's become a family destination now. So the people who can afford it would like to have not just 3-4 bedrooms. They'd like to have multiple sets of suites, and individually located. So that's what's happening with a lot of these design trends. Yes, there are quarantine zones. You need to take, your outer layers off. You need to have like a cloakroom. You need to have shoes. You need to have areas where you bring groceries in and sanitize them. You need to have, let's say, stages. There's a transition now. When you enter a house, you don't walk straight into the drawing room. You don't, because you need to take your outer clothing off. You need to take your shoes off. You need to get inside. You need to basically have a separate toilet where, visitors can come in. So hygiene, quarantine zones, storage areas, work areas, these have become very critical. Working within a house, you need to have 5 or 6 options. Children are working, the parents are working, the grandparents or the cousins or the guests are sitting and doing their own kind of working environment. So that's very critical, and the evening, of course, is for.
Sorry, Arjun, I'm just going to jump in just to mention, another trend, and I'd like you to talk about this around smart homes. So, and this is basically, people wanting to be out in nature, but wanting everything that you would get in a city, and internet connectivity being primary thing for I'm sitting in Delhi suffering under internet connectivity, but it's people who can get that accessibility. So sorry again, I'll let the expert talk about it.
But I'll just bring in Siddharth. Siddharth, buying a property in the hills has its own legal issues also, right? You can't even buy it in some places.
Absolutely. So again, as I mentioned, and I'll just repeat it, when you say the word hills, there are hills throughout India, and each based in different state will have its own set of regulations. The regulations may even be as centric to the district or to a particular acreage. If those hills are either in the forest zone, in Maharashtra, there are Adivasi zones. So based on where a particular zoning is there, what it is demarcated for, it's not simply someone likes a top of a hill, there's a road there and willing to write a check and he can acquire. So I think people have been looking for locations that they like, but clearly they have to focus on what can be done. Can they acquire and what can be done? And quite often we've seen people come with, we spotted a property, the local, the broker said, beautiful, we can acquire it. And in the first 2 days, we say, there's no chance, and it straight away says that this can't be done or you can. And it falls flat. So I think the good part is we're talking about ultra HNIs who are more sophisticated, who understand these nuances. But over the years, we've seen people being taken for ride in some of these areas where, oh, I believe this is worth 10 crores, but I got it for 50 lakhs. And I just cut the check. Now, Siddharth, can we just move ahead? And move ahead with what? So then, Siddharth, do we litigate? Do your best, and then you should have gone a little slower. So I think that trend now over the years has shifted a lot. People have understood it far more clearly. They understand when we stay the hills now. Arjun and Samir come from Delhi, and their definition of hills and hitting the beach are different. Whereas the dinner conversations in Bombay, clearly accessibility. So as I said, Alibag is stone throw away now with the speedboats there. I actually sitting in my office right now can actually do lunch in next 45 minutes in Alibag. It's that far. So the definition of accessibility is sitting at a house right on the beach is changing. Again, there are regulations of what you can buy and what you can't and what you can build. Again, the hills is the same thing. But yeah, I think in a broad way, I would say you have to look at local regulations very carefully before committing to anything and paying any.
Read the fine print, as our legal advisor says it. But at the end of the day, you know what I heard someone say, Goa is the new banana bread. So I think it still is very much in vogue right now. But thank you all for this conversation. And we're going to hopefully get you back in again and talk about some more destinations. But for now, that's it. Thank you for this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.